Okay, log in and then what?
So we're live. Okay.
Yeah. When you join, just plug in and then I'll log in as this so I can do what I have to do.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So we're here live for a South Slough creature feature test. And the creatures that we're featuring today are animals that live in the estuary, in the waters of the estuary. And these animals are not something that you would notice with the naked eye. So what these creatures are, the creatures we're featuring today, belong to a group of animals and plants called plankton. Plankton means wanderer, and these wanderers of the waters of the estuary and the ocean, and also lakes and rivers and streams, are microscopic. You can't see them with the naked eye. But when we magnify them, we start to see some of the amazing diversity of life that is sort of going on behind the scenes, but that is the base of the food web. So these are the microscopic plants and the microscopic animals upon which all of life is really built. And in the ocean and in the estuary, these animals and plants make up fundamentally some of the most important food sources and also some of the basic building blocks, the larvae of animals that will in time become very large, such as Dungeness crab and shrimp and some of the worms, and also larval forms of fish, including the mighty salmon that even though they grow up in the streams, they move down into the estuary and they feed on these microscopic life forms. So we have an image behind me here from our microscope, and I can move that around a little bit, and we can actually see. Now this sample has been on the slide for a little while, and so it's dried out a little bit, but we'll bring a fresh sample to life here in a moment, and we'll have a look at that. Where did these samples come from? We collected them with this light trap over here, and a light trap is nothing more than a container that has some openings on the sides, and the base of it is called the cod end, and the cod end just screws on. This is a homemade device. It was made by a volunteer here at South Slough to replicate a piece of scientific sampling equipment that's used at the Oregon Institute of Marine Biology, in particular to look at crab larvae. It can also be used to look at larval fish. And these openings and other types of larvae, these openings here provide access to a little light source that is inside here. And you can find the switch, just turn that on, and I don't know if you can view that at home, but you can actually see there's a purple light in there, and that purple light is an LED light, and that attracts the animals, and they swim in through these openings, but they can't exit. And so what happens then is in the morning, and these floats keep this suspended right near the surface, and in the morning I remove this from the water, I remove the cod end, and it concentrates our sample. So what does the sample look like when we collect it? It ends up looking like this. And I'm going to move my video cam here from microscope over to our sample and focus it for you. And there you can see kind of a rich soup of estuary life. Sorry, I've got to get that focused. See this rich soup of estuary life here. And this soup is just filled with all kinds of microorganisms. Let's see if we can get a better camera angle for you here. Something like that. And these microorganisms, as we look down into this soup, we start to realize it's teeming with not just things that are large enough that we can can sort of see them swimming around there. They look like little bugs, really. But it's also got some other filaments and things, and these filaments are actually the microscopic plants, the diatoms. And so we're going to jump over now to, instead of looking at our sample at kind of the macro scale here right now, I'm going to refresh our slide and then set up the microscope to show you what kinds of life we have and what these things really end up looking like, and it's quite remarkable. So I'm taking a compound microscope here and move our video cam now over to that compound microscope. I've got a little adapter for this. Slip that on there like that. And then you can begin to focus there. And now you can really start to appreciate the different life forms. These are microscopic plants called diatoms. And the diatoms, and then we've got some chains of algae. So we can get those up. And here we've got a larval barnacle, another. These are barnacle larvae called cyprids. Here's a little copepod. Here's another copepod. These copepods are shrimp-like organisms, some of them, and as they move around, they're feeding, of course, on different pieces of the plankton. Maybe the microscopic phytoplankton, or it may be other zooplanktons as well. Here's a larger copepod. And then there are also some even smaller creatures. And we can start to see these chains. These are diatoms here, these big, long, narrow diatoms. And then we've got chain-like diatoms, too, and these spiral diatoms. So diatoms are single-celled phytoplankton that contain chloroplasts, and they photosynthesize. So they take the sun's energy and they turn it into food. And then we've got zooplanktons here that are feeding. And these are the larval forms of things like barnacles, but they also may be things like crab, which are more familiar to us. Right now, I'm not seeing a lot of larval crab, or any for that matter. Here's a larval worm right here. So these are, some of these marine worms can grow to be a meter long when they're extended. But at this stage, they're very early on in the larvae. There's another one. And then eventually they will settle down to the bottom. And you notice that all of these animals, and for that matter, most of the plants, but the animals are fairly clear to the naked eye, even with the microscope. I'm going to bump up the power now, and you can start to really appreciate some of the beautiful forms that the phytoplankton take on. And these zooplanktons are moving through. They're just like race horses or something, moving through the space. And let's see, you can't really get them to hold still very readily. We have to put them on a different type of slide in order to really have that look. Start to really appreciate, though, how productive the waters of the estuary are. Whoops, lost my control of my slide there. But you can start to imagine that this might be the kind of place that produces more life than anywhere else on Earth. Estuaries are very, very productive places. So, all right, that's all I have for today. I want to thank you for joining me for this creature feature test, and look forward to hosting other creature feature live events here at South Slough National Estuarine Research Reserve in Charleston, Oregon. We're celebrating 40 years, and if you'd like to learn more about these and upcoming events at South Slough, visit us at www.southsloughEstuary.org. All right, I'm Tom Gaskill, and thanks for coming today.